The dust swirled around Harin's boots as she stepped through the broken doorway. The dead city stretched before her, its tall buildings cracked and empty. She had been digging through ruins for 3 years now, but this place felt different. It felt like it was hiding something important. "Another dead world," Quan said through the radio in her helmet. His voice sounded tired. "Just like the last 12 we checked." Harin looked up at the gray sky. This planet had no name anymore. The star maps just called it Dead World 847. Nobody remembered what the people here used to call it. Nobody remembered who lived here before the wars came. She walked deeper into the ruins. Her tools beeped softly as they found metal and stone buried under years of dust. The Galactic Confederacy had been at peace for 3,000 years, but before that there had been wars. Terrible wars that killed whole worlds and turned living planets into graveyards. "Harin, you need to see this," Quan called out. She turned and saw him standing next to a building that looked different from the others. It was smaller, rounder, and made of a strange blue stone that seemed to glow softly in the dim light. "What is it?" she asked, walking over to him. "I don't know. My scanners say it's older than the other buildings, much older." Quan's mechanical body moved with smooth, quiet steps. He used to be like gas, floating free in space, but now he lived in a metal frame so he could work with solid people like Hadash-Arain. Harin touched the blue stone. It felt warm even through her gloves. "Help me find a way in." They walked around the building until they found a crack in the wall. Harin squeezed through first, then helped pull Quan's metal body inside. The room was small and dark, but her helmet lights showed something amazing. The walls were covered in crystal screens, hundreds of them, all dark and silent. In the center of the room sat a chair made of the same blue stone as the building, and floating above the chair was a small crystal spinning slowly in the air. "It's still working," Quan whispered. "After all these years, it's still working?" Harin reached out and touched the floating crystal. The moment her fingers made contact, the room exploded with light. The crystal screens came alive, showing images and words and languages she had never seen before. "What did you do?" Quan asked, but he didn't sound scared. He sounded excited. "I don't know," Harin said, but she couldn't look away from the screens. The images were moving, showing her things that seemed impossible. She saw creatures that looked almost like her own people, but different. They had only 2 arms instead of 4, and their skin was soft and pink instead of hard and crystal-like. The creatures were building things, huge metal ships that could fly between stars, cities that reached up to touch the sky, machines that could think and feel and dream. "Can you read any of this?" Harin asked. Quan's eyes glowed brighter as he scanned the screens. "Some of it. The computer is trying to translate. Wait. I'm getting something." Words appeared on the screens, written in the common language that all the Confederacy worlds used. They called themselves humans, Quan read out loud. From a world called Earth, they said they were warriors, builders. The translation is strange. More images flashed across the screens. Harin saw the humans fighting in great battles. Their ships were ugly and simple compared to Confederacy vessels, but there were so many of them. They fought against creatures made of metal and fire, against things that looked like living nightmares. "This has to be fiction," Quan said. "Look at this. It says they could live on any world. Hot worlds, cold worlds, worlds with poison air. That's impossible." But Harin was reading something else, something that made her heart beat faster. "Quan, look at this date." "What about it? This isn't ancient history. According to this, humans were still alive 2,000 years ago. They were fighting a war against something called the Devourers." Quan's mechanical body went very still. "That's impossible. The Confederacy has records going back 3,000 years. There's no mention of any species called humans." But what if they were erased from the records?" Harin asked. "What if someone wanted them to be forgotten?" More text appeared on the screens. This time it was different, personal, like someone was writing a letter. "My name is Jinha," the word said. "I am the last guardian of Terra. If you are reading this, then the beacon has been activated. The devourers are coming back. Find us. We are still here. We are still human. We remember. At the bottom of the message were numbers. Coordinates to a star system. I know those coordinates, Quan said quietly. That's the Forbidden Zone, the system that was destroyed in a stellar collapse 2,000 years ago. What if it wasn't? Destroyed? Harin asked. What if that's just what they wanted everyone to think? Before Quan could answer, the crystal screens went dark. The floating crystal stopped spinning and fell into Harin's hands. It was warm and smooth, and she could feel something moving inside it, like a heartbeat. We have to go there, she said. Harin. That's against Confederacy law. The Forbidden Zone is off limits for a reason. But what if the reason is wrong? What if there's something there that we need to know? Quan's eyes dimmed as he thought. Harin knew he was scared. The Confederacy had rules about everything, and breaking those rules could get them in serious trouble. But she also knew that. He was curious, just like she was. The humans, she said softly. They're not just legends, are they? I don't know, Quan admitted, but I think we're about to find out. Harin looked at the crystal in her hands. Somewhere in the darkness of space, in a system that was supposed to be dead, someone was waiting. Someone who remembered what it meant to be human. Pack everything, she said. We're going to find them. As they left the blue building, neither of them noticed the small light that began to blink on the floating crystal. A signal sent across the galaxy to a place that didn't exist on any star chart, a place where someone had been waiting for 2,000 years for exactly this moment. The signal was simple, but it carried a message that would change everything. They know they're coming. Get ready. Harin's ship moved through the dark space between stars. She had bought the small research vessel with her own money, telling the Confederacy that she needed it for studying dead worlds. She never told them about the crystal hidden in her cabin, or about the coordinates that led to a place that shouldn't exist. Are you sure about this? Quan asked for the 10th time. He was checking their supplies again, his mechanical fingers counting food packs and water bottles. No, Harin said honestly, but I have to know. The ship's computer beeped. Warning! Approaching Forbidden Zone, turn back immediately. Harin turned off the warning system. The Confederacy had put automatic alerts on all their ships to keep people away from dangerous areas. But Harin wasn't planning to turn back. 3 days later, they reached the edge of the system. What they found made both of them stop breathing. The system was there. 3 planets circled a yellow star, just like the old map said. But according to every official record, this place had been destroyed 2,000 years ago when the star exploded. That's impossible, Quan whispered. The star is fine, Harin said, looking at her instruments. It's healthy and young. It never exploded, but that wasn't the strangest part. Around the whole system was a wall of energy. It looked like a soap bubble made of light, covering everything from the star to the outer planets. What is that? Quan asked. I don't know. My scanners can't see through it. Harin flew their ship closer to the energy wall. Up close, she could see patterns in the light. They moved and shifted like living things, but they followed rules that her computer couldn't understand. It's a barrier, she said. Someone built this to hide the system. Who could build something this big? Before Harin could answer, her ship's alarm started screaming. Something was coming toward them from inside the energy wall. Harin, look! She turned and saw a ship emerging from the barrier. But it wasn't like any ship she had ever seen. It was long and thin, made of dark metal that seemed to drink light. Strange symbols were carved into its sides, and blue fire came out of its engines. That's not a Confederacy ship, Quan said. No, Harin agreed. It's something else. The strange ship moved closer. Harin tried to call it on the radio, but got no answer. Then suddenly her ship's communication system crackled to life. Unknown vessel, said a voice. It was deep and rough, like someone who hadn't spoken in a long time. You are in forbidden space. Turn back now. We're researchers, Harin said. Into her microphone. We found a message. Someone named Jinha told us to come here. The radio went quiet for a long moment. Then the voice came back and it sounded different, surprised. Jinha, you know that name? We found a crystal on a dead world. It had a message. It said the Devourers are coming back. Another long silence. Then the strange ship moved even closer. Haran could see windows in its side and shapes moving. Behind them, follow me, the voice said. But know this, once you enter the barrier, everything changes. You will learn things that the Confederacy doesn't want you to know. We understand, Haran said. The strange ship turned and flew back toward the energy wall. Haran followed, her heart beating fast. As they got closer, she could see a hole, opening in the barrier, just big enough for both ships to pass through. The moment they crossed through the wall, Haran's instruments went crazy. The space inside was full of things that shouldn't exist. Floating stations made of metal and crystal. Ships that looked like they were grown instead of built. And everywhere signs of a civilization that was supposed to be dead. Welcome to the real solar system, the voice said. Welcome to humanity's last home. The strange ship led them toward the third planet from the star. As they got closer, Haran could see that it was beautiful. Blue oceans and green lands, white clouds swirling in the sky. It looked alive and healthy, nothing like the dead worlds she was used to studying. Is that Earth? She asked. It is. And it's been waiting for visitors for a very long time. But as they flew closer to the planet, Haran saw something that made her gasp. Floating in space around Earth were dozens of ships. But these weren't like the one that had found them. These ships were broken and burned, their metal twisted and torn. What happened to them? Quan asked. War, the voice said simply. The last war that the galaxy ever fought. The war that everyone forgot. Haran looked at the wrecked ships more closely. They were huge, much bigger than anything the Confederacy had ever built. And they were covered in weapons, big guns, and missile tubes, and she didn't recognize. Who did they fight? The Devourers. The things that eat worlds and turn them into nothing. We held them here, at the edge of the galaxy, for 300 years. We? Humans? My people, we fought them until there were almost none of us left. Then we hid, and let the galaxy forget we existed. The strange ship flew past the wrecked vessels, heading toward Earth's surface. Haran could see cities on the continents below, but they were small and scattered. Nothing like the huge cities on Confederacy worlds. How many of you are left? She asked. On Earth? A few thousand? But we're not the only ones. We have colonies on worlds the Confederacy doesn't. Know about hidden worlds where we've been preparing. Preparing for what? The ship was landing now, coming down on a platform near one of the small cities. Haran could see people waiting for them. They looked almost like her, but different. Shorter, with softer skin and strange hair that grew on their heads. Preparing. For the Devourers to come back, the voice said. Which they will, very soon. The ship touched down with a soft thud. Through her window, Haran could see the humans walking toward them. They moved differently than Confederacy people, more fluid, more ready to fight or run. The beacon you activated, the voice continued. It wasn't just a message, it was a warning system. It only turns on when the Devourers are close. Haran felt cold fear run through her body. How close? Close enough that we had to wake up Jinha. He's been sleeping for 2,000 years, waiting for this moment. The airlock on the strange ship opened and a figure stepped out. He was tall for a human, with gray hair and eyes that looked like they had seen too much. He wore simple clothes, but Haran could see scars on his arms and face. I am Jinha, he said, his voice the same one that had spoken on the radio. And you two are about to learn why the galaxy needs to remember that humans are real. He looked up at the sky where the wrecked ships floated like monuments to a forgotten war. Because the things that killed those ships are coming back. And this time, we might not be enough to stop them. Jinha led Haran and Quan through the human city. It was strange and beautiful, with buildings that curved like growing trees and streets that followed the land instead of cutting through it. The humans they passed stopped to stare at the visitors, their eyes wide with curiosity. You're the first aliens to visit Earth in 2,000 years, Jinha explained. Most of my people have never seen a Velthari or a Nephic before. Harin looked around in wonder. The humans seemed so alive, so full of energy. They moved quickly, talked loudly, and their eyes sparkled with intelligence and mischief. It was very different from the calm, peaceful worlds of the Confederacy. Your people seem excited, Quan observed. Jinha smiled, and it wasn't a gentle smile. We're always excited. It's how we stay alive. They reached a tall building in the center of the city. It was made of the same blue stone as the archive where Harin had found the crystal. Jinha placed his hand on the wall, and a door opened for them. Inside, the building was full of screens and machines. Humans worked at control panels, their fingers flying over buttons and keyboards. Maps of the galaxy covered the walls, with red dots marking places Harin didn't recognize. "This is our command center," Jinha said. "We've been watching the galaxy for 2,000 years, waiting for the signal." "What signal?" Harin asked. "The one you activated. Come, let me show you." "Something." He led them to a large room where a massive screen showed the galaxy. But this wasn't the peaceful, orderly galaxy that Harin knew. This map showed dark spots at the edges, places where stars had gone out and planets had disappeared. "The Devourers," Jinha said simply. "They're not just coming back. They never left. They've been eating the empty spaces between galaxies, growing stronger." Harin stared at the map. "Why didn't the Confederacy know about this?" "Because we made them forget. We had to." Jinha touched the screen and the image changed. Now it showed the galaxy as it was 3,000 years ago during the last war. "Look at this." The map was covered in red. Battle zones, destroyed worlds, entire systems turned to ash. Harin had never seen anything like it. The Confederacy's history books talked about small wars, local conflicts. This was different. This was the end of everything. "The Devourers came from outside our galaxy," Jinha continued. "They were like a plague that ate everything in their path. Worlds, stars, even space itself. They turned living things into weapons and used them to kill more living things." "How did you stop them?" Quan asked. "We didn't stop them. We held them back long enough for the other races to forget they existed. Then we followed the Devourers into the dark space between galaxies and fought them there." The screen changed. Again, now it showed human ships, thousands of them, flying into the black emptiness beyond the galaxy's edge. They were ugly ships, built for war, not for beauty. "Most of us died out there," Jinha said quietly. "But we learned things. We learned how the Devourers think, how they fight, how they can be hurt. And we learned something else." "Oh, what?" "They're afraid of us." Harin felt a chill run down her spine. "Afraid of humans?" "The Devourers eat everything. They turn order into chaos, life into death, but humans ... We're different. We take chaos and turn it into something useful. We take death and use it to make life stronger." Jinha walked to another screen, this one showing a recording. Harin watched in horror as creatures made of living shadow attacked a human ship. The ship was breaking apart, its crew dying, but the humans kept fighting. Even as their ship exploded around them, they found ways to hurt their enemies. "The Devourers couldn't understand us," Jinha said. "Every time they killed us, we came back stronger. Every time they destroyed our ships, we built better ones. Every time they thought they had won, we found a new way to fight." "But you're just one species," Harin said. "How could you do what the whole galaxy couldn't?" Jinha looked at her with those old, tired eyes. "Because we don't know when to quit. The Velthari are wise and patient. The Nethic are calm and logical. The Morden are efficient and organized. But humans? We're stubborn." He pressed another button, and the screen showed Earth as it was during the war. The planet was covered in factories and shipyards, all of them working day and night to build weapons and ships. When the Devourers destroyed our first fleet, we built a bigger one. When they destroyed that, we built an even bigger one. When they killed half our people, the other half worked twice as hard. We turned our whole species into a weapon." That's horrible," Harin whispered. Double quotes. "Yes, it was, but it worked. We drove them back to the edge of the galaxy, and then we followed them into the void." We fought them in the darkness for 300 years. The screen showed the final battle. Human ships, strange and terrible, fighting against things that hurt to look at. The battle was so violent that space itself seemed to crack and burn. We won, Jinha said, but the cost was everything. Our homeworld was almost empty, our colonies were destroyed. Our people were scattered across the galaxy. So you hid? Quan said. We had to. The other races were terrified of us. They had seen what we became during the war. They knew that if humans ever got angry again, we might destroy everything. Jinha turned away from the screen, so we made a deal. We would disappear from galactic history. The Confederacy would forget we existed. In return, we would watch the edges of the galaxy and make sure the Devourers never came back. But they are coming back, Harin said. Yes, and this time we're not sure we can stop them. The colonies we sent to the Outer Rim have been changing, evolving in ways we never expected. Some of them might not even be human anymore. The room fell silent. Harin could hear the hum of machines and the quiet voices of humans working at their stations. These people had been carrying the weight of the galaxy's safety for 2,000 years, and no one had even known they existed. What do you need? Used to do? She asked. Jinha smiled again, and this time it was warmer. Help us wake up the colonies. Help us remember what it means to be human. And help us teach the Confederacy how to fight. The Confederacy doesn't know how to fight, Quan said. No, they don't. But they're going to learn. Because the Devourers are coming, and this time the humans can't fight them alone. Jinha walked to a window that looked out over the city. In the distance, Harin could see the wrecked ships still floating in space, reminders of the last war. The galaxy forgot about us, he said. But we never forgot about the galaxy. And now it's time to remind everyone why humans are worth remembering. He turned back to them, and Harin saw something in his eyes that hadn't been there before. Hope. Are you ready to help us save the galaxy? Jinha took Harin and Quan deeper into the command center, to a room that felt cold and dark even with all the lights on. The walls were covered with screens showing the edge of the galaxy, where the stars grew thin and space became empty. This is where we watch for them, Jinha said. Where we've been watching for 2,000 years. Harin looked at the screens. Most showed empty space, but some showed strange things. Stars that flickered like dying candles. Planets that seemed to be fading away. And in the deepest darkness, shapes that moved in ways that hurt to watch. They're already here, aren't they? She asked. They never left, Jinha said. After the war, they pulled back to the void between galaxies. But they've been testing our defenses, sending small groups to see if we're still watching. He pressed a button, and one of the screens showed a recording. Harin saw a small group of human ships patrolling the galaxy's edge. Suddenly something attacked them. It looked like Living Shadow, but it moved with purpose and intelligence. Last month, Jinha explained, we lost 3 ships and 37 people. But we learned something important. What? The Devourers? Are different now, stronger. They've been eating the empty spaces between galaxies, growing bigger and smarter. They're not just hungry anymore, they're angry. Quan's mechanical body made a soft whirring sound as he processed this information. Why are they angry? Because we hurt them. Because we're the first species that ever made them retreat. They want revenge. Jinha moved to another screen, this one showing recordings from the ancient war. Harin watched in horror as the Devourers attacked Confederacy worlds. They didn't just destroy the planets. They consumed them, turning everything into more of themselves. The Devourers aren't just predators, Jinha said. They're a force of nature. They turn order into chaos, life into death. Everything they touch becomes part of them. The screen showed a beautiful world with crystal cities and floating gardens. Then the Devourers arrived, and the planet began to change. The crystals turned black, the gardens withered, and the people became something else, something terrible. They can turn the dead into weapons, Jinha continued. Every person they kill becomes a soldier in their army. Every ship they destroy becomes part of their fleet. How do you fight something like that? Harin asked. By being human, Jinha said simply. By refusing to give up even when everything seems hopeless. He showed them another recording. This one was from the middle of the war when the Devourers had conquered half the galaxy. A single human ship was surrounded by dozens of enemy vessels. The ship was damaged, its crew outnumbered, but they kept fighting. Watch this, Jinha said. The human ship was breaking apart, its weapons failing. But instead of surrendering, the crew did something impossible. They turned their ship into a bomb and flew it straight into the largest Devourer vessel. The explosion was so bright it lit up the whole star system. They killed themselves, Quan said quietly. Yes, but they took 50 enemy ships with them. And they bought time for 1 million people to escape. Jinha showed them more recordings. Humans fighting impossible battles, humans building weapons from scraps. Humans turning their own bodies into weapons when they had nothing else left. The Devourers couldn't understand us, he said. They expected us to break, to give up, to become like them, but we didn't. Every time they thought they had won, we found a new way to fight. But you almost went extinct, Harin pointed out. Yes, we paid the price. But we learned something important. The Devourers can be hurt. They can be stopped. And they're afraid of us. The screen changed, showing the final battle of the war. Human ships, strange and terrible, fighting against things that seemed to be made of living nightmare. The battle was so violent that space itself seemed to crack and burn. We followed them into the void, Jinha said. We fought them in the darkness between galaxies. We lost most of our people, but we drove them back. And now they're coming back, Harin said. Yes, and this time they're ready for us. They know our tricks, our weapons, our ways of fighting. They've been preparing for 2,000 years. Walked to a window that looked out over the human city. In the distance, Harin could see people working, building, preparing for something. But we've been preparing too, he said. The colonies we sent to the Outer Rim haven't just been hiding. They've been evolving, changing, becoming something new. What do you mean? Quan asked. Come with me, I'll show you. Jinha led them to another room where a massive communication array hummed with power. He pressed a series of buttons and the screens came alive with images from across the galaxy. This is Colony 7, he said, showing them a world covered in ice and snow. The humans there have adapted to live in the cold. They can survive in temperatures that would kill most other species. The screen showed people who looked human but different. Their skin was pale blue, their eyes were large and bright, and they moved across the ice like dancers. And this is Colony 12, Jinha continued, showing them a world of endless oceans. The humans there have learned to live underwater. They can hold their breath for hours and see in the deepest darkness. Harin watched in amazement as these water humans built cities under the waves and fought sea creatures with tools made from coral and shell. Every colony adapted to their world, Jinha explained. But they all kept the same core trait. They refused to quit. How many colonies are there? Harin asked. 47. Scattered across the galaxy's edge. Each one has developed new ways to fight, new ways to survive. Some of them are so different from baseline humans that they're almost new species. And you're going to wake them all up? Jinha nodded. The beacon signal is already spreading. They're getting ready, but it's not enough. What do you mean? The Devourers are coming with everything they have. Millions of ships, billions of corrupted beings, weapons we've never seen before. The human colonies are strong, but they're not enough to stop what's coming. Jinha turned to face them, his eyes serious. We need the Confederacy. We need all the species working together. But first, we need to teach them how to fight. The Confederacy has been at peace for 3,000 years, Quan said. They don't know how to fight. No, they don't. But they're going to learn, because the alternative is extinction. The communication array crackled to life, and voices began coming through. Human voices speaking in languages Harin had never heard before. The colonies are responding, Jinha said. They're waking up, getting ready. Ready for what? Jinha looked at the screens showing the galaxy's edge. where the darkness was growing deeper and the stars were beginning to disappear, ready to teach the galaxy what it means to be human, ready to show them that some things are worth fighting for, ready to prove that no matter how dark things get, there's always hope. He turned back to them, and Harin saw something in his eyes that made her feel both scared and brave at the same time. Ready to save everything we care about, no matter the cost. The first colony ship arrived at Earth 3 days later. Harin watched from the command center as the strange vessel descended from the sky. It looked like it was made of living coral, with smooth curves and holes that seemed to breathe. Colony 12, Jinha said. The ocean world. The ship landed on the water near the coast, and people began swimming out to meet it. But these weren't the humans Harin had met in the city. These people had blue-green skin and gills on their necks. They moved through the water like fish, fast and graceful. They've changed so much, Harin whispered. All the colonies have, Jinha replied. But watch. One of the water humans came onto the beach and walked up to a city human. They looked at each other for a moment, then smiled and embraced. Despite their differences, they recognized each other immediately. They're still human, Jinha said, where it counts. Over the next week, more colony ships arrived. The ice humans from Colony 7 came in ships that looked like frozen crystals. The desert humans from Colony 19 arrived in vessels that seemed to be made of sand and glass. Each group was different, but they all shared the same determined look in their eyes. How long do we have? Harin asked as she watched the gathering. Not long, Jinha said. Our scouts at the galaxy's edge report massive movement. The Devourers are coming. The communication array crackled to life. A voice spoke in urgent tones, reporting from the outer darkness. This is Scout Ship Defiance. We've lost contact with Outpost 17. The whole star system is ... just empty space where it used to be. Jinha closed his eyes for a moment. How many people? 50,000, all gone. Harin felt sick. 50,000 people, dead in an instant. And this was just the beginning. Recall all scout ships, Jinha ordered. Fall back to the defense. Line. He turned to Harin and Quan. It's time. We need to contact the Confederacy. They'll never believe us, Quan said. They will when they see the proof. Jinha led them to the communication room where a massive transmitter reached toward the stars. Human technicians worked at control panels, preparing to send a message across the galaxy. This is going to change everything, Jinha said. Once we break our silence, there's no going back. He pressed a button, and the transmitter came to life. The signal was strong enough to reach every world in the Confederacy, every ship in space, every listening post on the frontier. This is Jinha, of Earth, speaking for the human race. We know you believe we are extinct. We know you have forgotten us. But we are still here, and we have something to tell you. The signal went out into the void, carrying humanity's voice to a galaxy that had forgotten they existed. The Devourers are coming. They are already at the galaxy's edge, consuming worlds, and turning them into weapons. We have been watching, waiting, preparing, but we cannot fight them alone. Harin watched the screens as the message spread across the galaxy. On Confederacy worlds, people stopped what they were doing to listen. On ships and stations, crews gathered around their radios. We are not the same humans you remember from your legends. We have changed, evolved, become something new. But we are still human where it matters most. We still refuse to give up. We still fight for what we believe in. The responses came quickly. Confusion, fear, disbelief. The Confederacy Council demanded proof. Military commanders wanted to know about human weapons and ships. Scientists asked how humanity had survived. Proof, Juna said simply. They want proof. He pressed another button, and the transmitter began sending data. Records of the ancient. War, images of the Devourers. Video of the destroyed outposts at the galaxy's edge. This is what's coming, Jinha's voice continued. This is what we fought before. This is what we're going to fight again. But this time, we're not going to do it alone. The galaxy's response was immediate and chaotic. Some worlds panicked, their people fleeing to the inner systems. Others prepared for war, dusting off ancient weapons and calling up their defense forces. A few, the wise ones, sent messages asking how they could help. "The Velthari Council wishes to know your intentions," came one message. "Our intentions are simple," Jinha replied. "We're going to teach you how to fight, how to survive, how to be human when everything seems hopeless." Over the following days, ships began arriving at Earth, not just human colony ships, but vessels from across the Confederacy. The Velthari sent their best scientists. The Nethic offered their fastest ships. The Morden brought their most advanced weapons. Harin watched from the command center as the greatest fleet in galactic history assembled around Earth. Thousands of ships, millions of beings, all united by a single purpose. "It's beautiful," she said. "It's not enough," Jinha replied. "But it's a start." The real work began when the humans started teaching. The ice humans showed the Velthari how to survive in impossible conditions. The water humans taught the Nethic new ways to move through space. The desert humans shared their knowledge of building weapons from nothing. But most importantly, they taught them how to be stubborn. "Fighting isn't about having the best weapons," Jinha explained to a group of Confederacy officers. "It's about refusing to quit. It's about getting knocked down and getting back up. It's about finding hope in the darkest moments." He showed them recordings of human battles, not the big space fights, but the small ones. Humans holding impossible positions, humans fighting with broken weapons, humans dying but taking their enemies with them. "This is what we're going to teach you," he said. "How to find the fire inside you. How to use it to light the way for others." The lessons were hard. Confederacy soldiers were used to ordered battles and careful strategies. Humans taught them to be wild, to be unpredictable, to turn their weaknesses into strengths. The Devourers expect order, Jinha explained. They expect patterns they can predict and counter, but humans don't follow patterns. "We do whatever works, even if it's crazy." Harin watched as the galaxy's greatest minds worked together, sharing knowledge and hope. The Velthari learned to be fierce. The Nethic learned to be daring. The Morden learned to be passionate. And in return, the humans learned something. Too, they learned that they weren't alone anymore. They learned that other species could find their own fire, their own stubborn refusal to give up. "The Devourers are coming," Jinha announced to the assembled fleet. "They expect to find the same galaxy they left 2,000 years ago, peaceful, ordered, predictable." He smiled, and it was the smile of someone who had kept hope alive through the darkest times. "They're going to be very surprised." The fleet began to move, thousands of ships heading toward the galaxy's edge. But they weren't the same ships that had arrived at Earth. They had been changed, improved, made into something new. "We're not going to fight them the way they expect," Jinha said. "We're going to fight them the human way. We're going to show them what happens when you threaten everything we care about." Harin looked out at the fleet, at the mix of human and alien ships flying together. She thought about the crystal she had found, the message that had started it all. "We are still here, we are still human, we remember." Now the whole galaxy would remember too. They would remember what it meant to fight for something worth saving. They would remember that some fires can never be put out. The Devourers were coming, but they would find a galaxy ready to burn rather than surrender. And at the heart of it all, the fire that made humans human would light the way to victory.